English translation 332nd contact. Tuesday, 26th of December 2002. 20:29 hours.
Hello, Solar. Very happy to see you. Be welcome in my lair. I guess it was you who I saw flashing by in the entrance and whose wet shoe sole imprints we saw on the concrete floor.
Greetings, my friend. Yes, I was in the front door and went to the kitchen door to visit you. Florina thought that you would be in the kitchen at this hour of the day, so I came to see you there. However, when I heard outside the door that various people were present in the kitchen, I immediately beamed back to my flying apparatus, after which I came here to your workroom and called you. I have not seen you.
A bit confusing, my friend, I think. Where did you park your ship? Everybody in the kitchen, Freddy, Atlantis, Madeline, and Silvano and I checked all our shoe soles, but nobody had the profile that was imprinted on the concrete floor. Obviously you came in from outside, otherwise you would not have had wet shoe soles.
I was a bit confused. That is right. Because when I heard the people talking in the kitchen, I got a bit uncontrolled. So I immediately beamed to my flying apparatus, which I had left floating a few meters in height over the big square in front of the big wood storage and next to the biotope, shielded from view. From there I walked to the center to get to your kitchen.
Really a bit unusual and confused. And why did you walk through the rain? Because you could have had it different.
I felt the need to walk a little and feel the rain, which I did not want to shield. And I was really a little confused and uncontrolled in my actions, which is why I did not call you until I was here in your workroom.
You mentioned that Florina alerted you that I was in the kitchen at this time today.
That is correct. She instructed me to heal your arm with a more suitable device than she had on her last visit.
Oh, my tennis elbow. Thanks for Florina's and your help.
Then let us act now.
Whatever you say. Here is my arm.
Already done, my friend.
Unexpected visitor by Atlantis Meier of Switzerland.
With the year 2002 and bringing a very turbulent time behind me, and psychologically I was almost burnt out. So I was looking forward to some days of rest, which I thought to spend in the center, which was brought about over the Christmas and New Year too. Enjoying the peace and quiet, I felt my strength slowly regenerating. It was then on Thursday, the 26th of December, when I arranged with the core group member Patrick Chenot, because at that time I did not yet own a DVD player myself, that we would watch a DVD film together in the evening at his home. Shortly before our departure, however, I heard my father recognizable by the jingling of keys coming from his office in the hallway. In front of the kitchen door, he apparently stopped for a short time because suddenly there was silence, and from outside no sound could be heard anymore. But that lasted only a few seconds. Then the door opened and Father entered the kitchen with the question as to who had just come in. We present ones: Madeleine, Silvano, Freddy and I. Atlantis paused in our conversation in amazement and answered almost unanimously that no one had come into the kitchen from outside during the past 15 minutes. Neither through the hallway door, nor through the back door, through the house door, or the door to the intermediate corridor. However, Father insisted that someone must have come in, because in the corridor outside you could see his or her wet foot or shoe's sole tracks, which showed a somewhat strange profile but were clearly shoe prints of an adult person. In addition, when he came from the office, he had just seen a figure scurrying from the patio entrance into the corridor towards the kitchen, but he had not been able to recognize the person. He stuck to this, although we assured him once again that nobody had entered the kitchen. Father Billy, however, maintained that someone must have entered the kitchen because the wet shoe sole prints had not simply appeared out of nowhere. It went on for a minute or two, then we all went out in astonishment to see the ominous prints, and there they were, shoe prints with a profile of strangely arranged figures. And since Father obviously still did not believe us that no one had come into the kitchen, he asked us all to show the soles of our shoes while he took off one of his slippers and stopped to check whether he had perhaps stepped into a puddle of water in the corridor from the office and could have caused the marks himself. A paradox, because he said he had seen someone scurrying by on the one hand and the wet shoe prints on the other hand, but somehow he just wanted to make sure that he was not dreaming or something. The soles of all our shoes did not stand up to any comparison with the prints, so it could not have been any of us who had left the prints. Well, I did not notice what happened next, because I immediately left with Patrick. When I came back to the center around 00, I was told that everybody, including Father, went back into the kitchen and talked there briefly about the strange wet prints, after which Silvano and Father went out into the hallway again to inspect the slowly drying marks once more. Walking down the corridor to the exit, they were discussing when Father suddenly said to Silvano, "Ah, now the mystery is solved. We do not have to talk about it anymore." Then he rushed around the corner and ran into his office, where the Plei-Aron Solar was waiting for him to cure his tennis elbow on behalf of the Plei-Aron Florena, which had been causing him pain for 3 months, especially when working on the computer, but also in other activities. My father then explained to me with a smile that Solar had acted somewhat confusedly and had beamed himself back to his beam ship in front of the kitchen door, and had become quite confused because there were several people in the kitchen whom he had not expected to see there. But my father, who, as Florina told him, was probably not working in the office on the 26th of December, but was certainly in the kitchen drinking coffee. Only when Solar was back at his beam ship did he beam into the office, from where he then sent out his telepathic call, as he later explained to Father. SSSC 2nd January 2003, witnesses Silvano Lehmann, Freddy Kropf, Madeleine Brügger.
Fantastic, no more pain. We should have such a device here on the Earth as well. Thanks, my friend.
The future is not waiting for us on the Earth either, so neither is the progress of medical technology.
Soothing when I think about the future, at least in that respect. With the madness of war, etc., it looks unfortunately extremely unpleasant. Look, here I have written another article which will be published on the internet tomorrow evening at 21 hours, as I was promised. It will also be published in English, Spanish, and French as soon as the translations are done. Please read it and tell me what you think.
The writing is good, very good even, and it would be good if many human beings on the Earth could read and think about these lines.
Unfortunately, I will not get thanks for this, but probably only in gratitude, especially from those who are afraid and cowards and who cry with the warmongers in the same choir. I will certainly not be awarded the Nobel Peace Prize.
Nobel Peace Prize, what is that?
This is a special prize that is given to humans for actions that promote peace, or are otherwise valuable for peace or for related writings and books, just literature. There is also a Nobel Prize for scientific work and research or findings. Thus, achievements in the fields of physics, chemistry, medicine, and physiology are honored, as well as those relating to peacekeeping or peacebuilding. Unfairly, however, the prize is not awarded to ordinary people, but only to those who have made a great name for themselves in some respect. a simple citizen has no chance. The Nobel Prize goes back to a Swedish chemist and industrialist named Alfred Nobel, who invented the explosive dynamite in 1867, on which his immense wealth was based. In 1875, he was involved in the so-called blasting gelatine, and, to my knowledge, in 1887 in the development of the low-smoke explosive powder. His inventions, however, led not only to good things but also to many very unpleasant degenerations in terms of weapons technology, etc., in wars, revolutions, and through terrorism and individual acts of crazy, insane, or criminal elements, which cost the lives of many tens of millions of humans. Nobel's inventions have given rise to explosives factories, primarily in most industrialized countries. The Nobel Prize was decreed in the will of Alfred Nobel, who to my knowledge died on the 10th of December 1896. For this purpose, the so-called Nobel Foundation was established, through which the prize is financed from the annual interest on the Nobel fortune. As a rule, the annual Nobel Peace Prize is awarded by the Norwegian king in Oslo, while all other Nobel Prizes are awarded by the Swedish king on the anniversary of Alfred Nobel's death on the 10th of December.
I did not know that. Your explanations are very interesting. You are honored to know such facts.
Not half as bad, my friend, for such knowledge belongs to a halfway decent general education.
Really?
I think so, yes.
That is like that in all walks of life.
I do not want to judge this too much, but I think it is fair to say that not all Earth citizens put much stock in a good or even halfway good general education, but rather sacrifice it to their material things and pleasures, as well as their laziness in learning.
If this is so, then it is regrettable. But why do simple human beings without big names not also receive the Nobel Prize that you declared?
Well, here on Earth, it is a fact that only those of rank, name, and title are respected and honored. The simple person always falls between the chairs and benches, because he or she is not respected. On the contrary, when a simple person wants to raise his or her word and his or her wisdom to proclaim the truth and to bring peace, love, and freedom, then they are shouted down and ridiculed or even quoted and punished in court. Especially through the public media, behind which there are unfair and autocratic journalists and editors, etc., who are great in terms of tearing up and slandering and ridiculing those who, often at the risk of their lives, try to proclaim the truth while cheering on the liars, cheats, and swindlers up to all the heavens, often with the help of the judiciary, which often results in criminal acts and mass suicides, etc. At the same time, the fallible do not even burden themselves with a conscience, because in their self-importance they think and act only for themselves and are not interested in the good and bad of their fellow human beings or in the effective truth.
This wicked evil is known to us, and it will take a very long time on the earth until these degenerations no longer appear.
You may be right about that, because Earth humans cannot be turned from their crooked path so easily.
That will be the case. And until then, a lot of hardship and misery as well as suffering, death and horror will still fall upon this world and its humanity, especially through hatred, wars, terrorism, sectarianism, crime, mass murdering, megalomaniacal and absolutely irresponsible rulers of all kinds.
You are speaking with my words. How right you are.
Unfortunately, it is the truth. But now, my friend, I must go again, for my duty calls me.
Thank you and Florina for the care of my arm. Then goodbye. Perhaps we shall meet again.
That may be. Greetings from everyone. But now, goodbye.